All right, so for the investigation, can you estimate a person's height from the length of their bones? At a nearby construction zone, workers have made a startling discovery. They uncovered several bones that look like they were buried some time ago. You are part of a team of forensic anthropologists who have been called in to analyze these bones. Unfortunately, the bones were heavily damaged by the construction equipment. The bones have all been mixed up and several have been crushed. However, you think you can use the bones that are left to determine the number of bodies and the height of each individual. When a body is discovered, it is important to learn as much as possible from the remains. Forensic anthropologists use mathematical formulas to estimate someone's height from the lengths of certain bones in their body. So, one, using a ruler or tape measure, measure the length of your femur in centimeters. This is the large bone that runs from your hip socket to your kneecap. The bone that sticks out near your hip is part of the femur and is called the greater trochanter. Record this information in the table below for you and your lab partners. Gather data from at least 3 people in your class. So you're going to use the femur length and the chart to calculate your heights and compare that to your actual height. If your race isn't listed, you can find more formulas online. Next, measure the length of your tibia. Start at the tibial tuberosity. Bump on your shin to the medial malleolus, the bump on your ankle. Use the chart to calculate your height based on the tibia. Finally, measure your ulna length by bending your arm and measuring from the proximal end of the ulna elbow bump to the distal end of the styloid process. The styloid process is visible as a bump near your wrist. Use the chart to calculate your height based on the ulna. Complete the table for at least 3 members in your group or class. So guys, because of time constraints, the 4 individuals that we're going to use are myself, a student from second period, and the third and fourth students are from sixth period. Okay, so guys, I wanted to remind you that in the forensic world, there are only 3 recognized types of skeletons. Okay, so for example, to determine the race, just keep in mind that there are 3 major anthropological racial groups based on observable skeletal features. Caucasoid, which includes people of European, Middle Eastern, and East Indian descent. So, for example, this is me. I'm listed as Caucasoid. I'm not actually Caucasoid. I'm actually East Indian. But according to, the 3 different um, anthropological racial groups um, that are recognized based upon skeletal features, I'm considered Caucasoid. Okay. Um, Second period, we have an African American male. Okay. Third and fourth period, we have 2 Middle Eastern males. And again, they're listed as Caucasoid because remember, Caucasoid includes people of European, Middle Eastern, and East Indian descent. Okay. And Negroid includes people of African, of Aborigine, and Melanesian descent. And then the third one is Mongoloid, which includes people of Asian, Native American, and Polynesian descent. In most areas of the world, populations have mixed, blurring the distinctions among the races. It is important to note that there is more individual variation within races than there is general variation among races. So the major differences can be best seen in the skull features. So just a quick reminder, remember for caucasoids have a long, narrow nasal aperture, a triangular palate, oval orbits, narrow zygomatic arches, and narrow mandibles. Okay? Negroids have a wide nasal aperture, a rectangular palate, square orbits, and more pronounced zygomatic arches. The long bones are longer and have less curvature and a greater density. And then remember the third one is mongoloid. Mongoloids have a rounded nasal aperture, a parabolic palate, round orbits, wide zygomatic arches, and more pointed mandibles. So again, Caucasoid includes people of European, Middle Eastern, and East Indian descent. Negroid is a descriptor for people of African, Aborigine, and Melanesian descent. Mongoloid is a descriptor for people of Asian, Native American, and Polynesian descent. Okay? So that was just to make sure that you understand the background of, um, the 4 different individuals that are listed, okay? So my actual height in centimeters is 149.86 centimeters, okay? My femur length is 30.48 centimeters, and my calculated height when I use the equation is 128.7 centimeters. Okay, so the height of the Caucasoid female, the general equation is 2.47 times 30.48 plus 54.10 plus or minus 3.72. So again, this plus or minus just means that you can either add 3.72, okay, or you can subtract 3.72 for your estimate, okay? In this case, it probably would have been wiser to subtract to get closer to the calculated heights, okay? But so yeah, just keep in mind that the plus or minus just means that you can either add or subtract this last number right here. Okay, and then so for my tibia length is 23 centimeters. My calculated height from the tibia length is 130.4 centimeters. Okay, so the height of the Caucasoid female is supposed to be 2.90 times 23 tibia length plus 61 plus um, 3.66, which is equal to 132 centimeters. Okay, so that comes out very close to the calculated height, 132 centimeters and then 130 centimeters. Okay, and then the ulna length is 22.86 centimeters, and then the calculated height based upon the ulna length is 132 centimeters. Okay, so again, that matches that. All right, so in blue, we have the Negroid male. I have to ask him about his height in centimeters, but his femur length is 45 centimeters and his calculated height is 170.6 centimeters. Okay, his tibia length is 46 centimeters, calculated height is 190 centimeters, the ulna length is 27 centimeters, and then the calculated height is 173.9 centimeters. So if we scroll down to the bottom, we can kind of see how we got those numbers. So again, it's in blue. The one in blue is what we're looking at. So again, for the male negroid height, we're going to use 2.10 times 45 centimeters. Remember, the 45 centimeters is the measurement for the femur, plus 72.22 plus or minus 3.91, which is 170.63. Okay, and then for the second equation, for the male negroid height, we're going to use 2.19 times 46 centimeters for the tibia. Okay, so remember 46 centimeters is the measurement for the tibia, plus 85.36, and then remember it's plus or minus 3.96. In this case, I'm adding plus 3.96, and that's 190.06 centimeters. Okay, and then for the final equation for the male negroid height, we've got 3.20 times 27 centimeters. 27 centimeters, remember that's the measurement for the ulna, plus 82.77 plus or minus 4.74. In this case, I'm adding 4.74, and we get 173.91 centimeters. Okay, so guys, that is where those numbers that are in the charts in blue are coming from. Okay, that's how this was calculated out. Okay, so for the third student, we have a male Caucasoid 1, and his height is 177. His actual height is 177.8 centimeters. Okay, his femur length is 45.72 centimeters, and his calculated height is 175.5 centimeters. So as you can see, this height is very close to his actual height. 175.5 centimeters is very close to 177.8 centimeters. Okay, so for the male Caucasoid 1 tibia length, we have 35.56 centimeters, and for the calculated height, we have 171.9 centimeters. Okay, so that's kind of close to the actual height. And then for the ulna length, we have 26.7 centimeters. Okay, and the calculated height from that is 180.5 centimeters. So again, this is also very close. The 180.5 centimeters is very close to 177.8 centimeters. Okay, so now let's take a look at how we calculated that in green. So again, we're looking at the male Caucasoid 1 height. We've got 2.32 times 45.72 centimeters. Remember, that is the length of the femur that was measured, okay, plus 65.53 plus 3.94 centimeters equals 175.5 centimeters. Okay, so again, it can be plus or minus 3.94. I added, just to make it closer to the actual height, okay, which was 177. So that's kind of how you know whether or not you're going to add or subtract, is you're going to compare it to the actual height, okay? And then for the second equation, we have the male Caucasoid 1 height. So that's 2.42 times 35.56. Again, 35.56 is the length of the tibia, okay, plus 81.26 0.93 plus or minus 4.00 centimeters. In this case, I added 4.00 centimeters, 171.9 centimeters is what we get. And again, the reason why I chose to add is to make it closer to the actual height, which was 177, okay? So for the male Caucasoid 1 height, when using the ulna length, we have 3.76 times 26.67, okay? And remember, 26.67 is the length of the ulna plus 75.55 plus or minus 4.72, which is 180.5 centimeters. Okay, so again, I chose to add 4.72, to get close to the 177 mark. Okay, and then let's look at the last student. So for the Caucasoid male 2, his actual height is 190.5 centimeters. The femur length is 48.3 centimeters. The calculated height is 181.4 centimeters. Okay, and the tibia length is 40.6 centimeters. The calculated height is 184.3 centimeters. The ulna length is 27.9 centimeters, and the calculated height is 185.3 centimeters. Okay, so let's see. So guys, again, all of those equations that I'm going over with you, I'm getting it from this chart, which is titled Formulas for Calculating Height Based Upon Race, for both the male equation and the female equation, for the femur, tibia, ulna, and humerus. Okay? And then here we see that table again. Okay, so for the male Caucasoid 2 height, using the femur length, we're using the equation 2.32 times 48.26 centimeters. Remember, 48.26 centimeters is the femur length plus 65.53 plus or minus 3.94. I chose to add to make it closer to the actual height, and we get 181.4 centimeters, okay? Using the tibia length, we're using the formula 2.42 times 40.64 centimeters. Remember, the tibia length is 40.64 centimeters, okay? Plus 81.93 plus or minus 4.00 centimeters. I chose to add to make it close to the actual height. Okay, so now calculating the height using the ulna measurement for male Caucasoid 2 height, we have 3.76 times 27.94 centimeters. Okay, and again, this is for the ulna. And then plus 75.55 plus or minus 4.72, which is equal to 185.3 centimeters. So again, I chose to add 4.72 to make it closer to the actual height. Okay? So again, I'm getting those formulas from this chart right here that's titled Formulas for Calculating Height Based Upon Race. That breaks the equation down for both males and females using the femur, tibia, ulna, and humerus lengths. All right, so for the construction site, it states the following bones were recovered from the construction site. A fellow forensic anthropologist has already classified the bones by sex and race. using the mathematical formulas, calculate the approximate height of each individual. So we've got bone number 1 is a humerus. The length is 38.2 centimeters. The race is Caucasian. Sex is male. And the calculated height is 193.1 centimeters. So again, we're going to use the formula for the humerus length, which we get from the table right here. Okay, so again, we're getting that equation from here. And so let's look at the worked out equation in gold. So again, for the humerus, we have a Caucasoid male, where the measurement is 38.2 centimeters. Okay, so it's 2.89 times 38.2 centimeters for the humerus, plus 78.10, plus or minus 4.57 centimeters. I chose to add to make it closer to the actual height, and I got 193.1 centimeters. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. So for bone number 2, we have a femur. The length is 44 centimeters. It's an African American female, okay, where the calculated height is 163.5 centimeters. Okay, so let's look at, so again, we're going to go ahead and use the femur formula over here for calculating height. It's African American female. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use that one right here. So when we work it out, so just a quick reminder, it's femur, negroid female, 44 centimeters. Okay, where the calculated height using the femur is 2.28 times 44 centimeters. Remember, 44 centimeters is the length of the femur, plus 59.76 plus or minus 3.41, which is 163.5 centimeters. I chose to add 3.41 to make it closer to the actual height. Okay, so let's look at the third one. Okay, so the calculated height for bone number 3, the bone type is the ulna. The length of the ulna is 25.4 centimeters. The race is Caucasian. The sex is male. And the calculated height is 175.8 centimeters. Okay, so again, we're going to calculate the height using the measurement of the ulna, and it's based upon the fact that the skeleton is a Caucasoid male. Okay, so let's see what that looks like when it's worked out. Okay, so ulna, Caucasoid male, again, we've got 25.4 centimeters. That's the measurement of the ulna, okay? So we're going to use this formula right here, 3.76 times 25.4 centimeters, which is the length of the ulna, plus 75.55 plus or minus 4.72. Again, I chose to add 4.72 to make it closer to the actual height, okay, 175.8 centimeters. We weren't actually given an actual height in here, but I just like to lean on the fact that, people are normally heavier, or taller. Okay, so for the next one, we have a femur caucasoid male. So let's look at that one real quick. Whoops. Okay, so for this one, we have bone number 4. Okay, we're looking at a femur. The length is 52.4 centimeters. The race is Caucasian, the sex is male, and the calculated height is 191 centimeters. Okay, so we're gonna calculate the height using the femur length for a Caucasoid male, okay, that we obtained from the table. So again, for the femur Caucasoid male, remember that the length of the femur was 52.4 centimeters. So we're going to use the formula 2.32 times 52.4 centimeters. Again, this is pretty important. The length of the femur is 52.4 centimeters plus 65.53 plus or minus 3.94 centimeters. Again, I just chose to add 3.94 centimeters, which is 191 centimeters, okay? So the next one we're going to look at is also a femur, and that's in pink. So bone number 5 is a femur with a length of 43.9 centimeters. The race is African American, sex is female, where the calculated height is 163.3 centimeters. So again, we're going to use the formula from the table for a femur that is consistent with an African American female, okay? And then we're going to calculate the height that way. So let's look at what that looks like when it's worked out. So again, we've got a femur, negroid female, 43.9 centimeters, okay? The formula that we're using is 2.28 times 43.9 centimeters. Remember, 43.9 centimeters is the length of the femur, plus 59.76, plus or minus 3.41. I chose to add 3.41, which is 163.3 centimeters. Okay, and then for our final calculation, we've got bone number 6, okay, where the bone type is a tibia. Okay, the length is 45.7. The race is Caucasian. The sex is male, and the calculated height is 196.5 centimeters. So let's look at how that is calculated. So again, tibia, caucasoid male, the length of the tibia is 45.7 centimeters. We've got 2.42 times 45.7 centimeters. Remember, 45.7 centimeters is the length of the tibia, plus 81.93 plus or minus 4.00 centimeters. Okay, so I chose to add 4 centimeters, and you get 196.5 centimeters. Okay. So again, all of those equations came from this chart right here, titled Formulas for Calculating Heights, that breaks it down how to calculate when you have the length of the femur, tibia, ulna, humerus for the 3 different races that are Caucasian, African American, and Asian, okay? And then further breaks it down to what equation to use if the skeleton is male or female, okay? All right, so now on to the discussion questions. So is it possible that any of the bones came from the same person? Which bones do you think might be the same person, and provide an explanation for why you think so? So what do you guys think? Andy, do you have something to say? No? Okay. Well, if you just kind of look at this chart right here and you see the different types of bones, you have to take into consideration, okay, how many how many like bones does each type of, you know, does each is each skeleton supposed to have? Okay, then you have to take into consideration the fact that the bones are crushed and mixed up. Okay, so again, the question is it possible that any of the bones came from the same person? Which bones do you think might be the same person, and provide an explanation for why you think so? So yes, it is possible for some of the bones to come from the same person because the bones were mixed up as a result of being damaged from the construction equipment. Okay, so question number 2. What is the minimum number of bodies buried at this site? What is the maximum number of bodies buried at this site? Explain your reasoning. So guys, again, you have to think about, um, how many humeruses is a person supposed to have? Femurs, ulnas, femurs and tibias, right? And then again, you have to take into consideration the fact that these bones are crushed and mixed up, okay? So for question number 2, what is the minimum number of bodies buried at this site? What is the maximum number of bodies buried at this site? Explain your reasoning. So the minimum number of bodies buried at this site could be one person because there is only one humerus found. Okay, it is possible that the other bones are from the same person but are crushed. The maximum number of bodies at this site is 3 individuals because there are 6 tibia that are located. There are 2 tibias per person because these are the long bones in both lower legs. So question number 3, consider a case where 2 females have the same femur length. Would you expect those females to be the exact same height? Why or why not? What do you guys think? So remember, the femur is where? Yeah, your upper leg, right? The long bone in your upper leg. So what do you guys think? Okay, yeah, you brought up a really good point. Some okay, yeah, that's good job. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So no, so so no, the 2 females with the same femur length may not have the same height due to factors like genetics, different body proportions, pelvic structure variations, and differences in anatomical structures. So that actually goes along with what you said. Okay? So on the formula table, there is a symbol shown as positive or negative. What does this symbol mean? So guys, I actually talked about this several times. What does the plus or minus symbol mean? Anybody? I mentioned it several times. Andy, what does the plus or minus symbol mean? No, the plus or minus. Yeah. Yeah, it means that it doesn't mean that the answer can be negative or positive necessarily, but it means that you are either adding or subtracting the very last number. Okay? And then 5, consider your calculated heights and your actual height. Are they within the range that was expected? Suggest a reason for why a person's calculated height might not be accurate. So, a person's calculated height might not be accurate because many individuals are multiracial. Okay? All right, guys. So, do any of you guys have any questions about this assignment? Anybody? Any questions?